The lunar dust kicked up in lazy clouds around Marcus Chen's boots as he approached the skeletal remains of what had once been humanity's crown jewel, Luna Station Alpha. The colony's domes, cracked and weathered by decades of micrometeorite, impacts and solar radiation, stood like ancient monuments against the star-scattered void. His helmet's HUD displayed the timestamp, March 15, 2157. It had been 43 years since the last transmission from this place. Marcus adjusted his oxygen levels and checked his suit's integrity for the third time. As the last operational member of the Terran Archaeological Survey, he had volunteered for this solo mission when the bureaucrats deemed it too dangerous and too expensive for a full team. The irony wasn't lost on him. Humanity had once called Luna Station Alpha home to 12,000 souls, and now it was considered too risky for a handful of scientists. The main airlock still functioned, though grudgingly. Ancient servos whined in protest as the massive doors cycled open, revealing corridors that hadn't seen human presence in nearly half a century. Marcus's helmet lights cut through the darkness, illuminating walls covered in a fine layer of lunar dust that had somehow found its way inside despite the station's original atmospheric seals. He moved through the residential sectors first, his footsteps echoing strangely in the thin atmosphere that somehow still clung to the lower levels of the station. Personal belongings lay scattered where they had been dropped during the Great Evacuation. Children's toys, family photos, coffee mugs with long-dried contents. The sight sent a chill down Marcus's spine that had nothing to do with the frigid, lunar environment. According to the historical records, Luna Station Alpha had been humanity's first successful long-term lunar colony, established in 2089 as a stepping stone to Mars and the outer planets. For nearly 30 years, it had thrived as a center of scientific research and resource extraction. Then came the solar storm of 2113, a coronal mass ejection of unprecedented magnitude that had stripped away most of the station's shielding and forced the complete evacuation of all personnel. But Marcus wasn't here for nostalgia or historical documentation. 3 months ago, deep space monitoring stations had detected unusual energy signatures emanating from Luna Station Alpha's industrial sector, signatures that matched no known human technology. The readings were intermittent, but consistent, appearing every 72 hours like clockwork. He made his way through the labyrinthine corridors toward the industrial complex, following the faded emergency lighting strips that still somehow drew power from the station's geothermal taps. The further he ventured into the station's depths, the more intact everything appeared. The industrial sector had been built to withstand almost anything the universe could throw at it, and it showed. The massive fabrication bays stretched out before him like metallic cathedrals. Equipment that had once processed lunar regolith into construction materials and refined helium-3 for fusion reactors sat silent and dust-covered. But there was something else. A faint vibration through the floor, so subtle he almost missed it. Marcus followed the vibration deeper into the complex, past manufacturing stations and processing facilities, until he reached a section that didn't appear on any of the station schematics he had studied. The corridor ahead was different, cleaner, with walls that seemed to shimmer with an almost organic quality. His radiation detector began clicking rapidly. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that defied explanation. The ceiling soared at least 50 meters overhead, and the walls curved in impossible geometries that hurt to look at directly. But it was what occupied the center of the chamber that made Marcus's breath catch in his throat. A ship. Not just any ship. Something that clearly wasn't of human origin. It was roughly cylindrical, perhaps 200 meters in length, but its surface seemed to flow like liquid metal frozen in motion. Strange symbols covered its hull, pulsing with a soft blue radiance that provided the only light in the chamber. The vessel rested in what appeared to be a specially constructed cradle, as if the entire chamber had been built around it. Marcus's suit sensors went wild as he approached. The ship was generating the energy signatures that had drawn him here, but the readings made no sense. According to his instruments, the vessel was simultaneously matter and energy, solid and plasma, present and not present. A datapad lay on a nearby control console. Human technology, but modified with components that matched the ship's aesthetic. Marcus picked it up, and to his surprise, it activated at his touch. A holographic display materialized, showing the face of Dr. Elizabeth Hawthorne, the station's former chief scientist. "If you're seeing this," her recorded image said, "then you found what we discovered buried beneath the lunar surface during our final excavation project. We don't know how long it was there. Our best estimates suggest at least 10,000 years, possibly much longer." The recording continued as Marcus stared at the alien vessel in wonder. "We spent 3 years studying it in secret before the solar storm hit. What we learned, it changes everything. This isn't just a ship, it's a library, a repository of knowledge left behind by a civilization that traveled between the stars when humanity was still discovering fire. And Marcus, if that's you watching this, and I suspect it is, you stubborn fool, you need to know the most important part." Marcus leaned closer to the datapad. "The ship isn't abandoned. It's waiting. Waiting for someone worthy enough to carry its knowledge to the stars. The builders left it here because they recognized something in our species, something that made them believe we were ready to inherit what they had learned." The recording paused, and Dr. Hawthorne's expression grew serious. "The evacuation was a cover story, Marcus. We didn't leave because of the solar storm. We left because we realized that humanity wasn't ready for this responsibility. Not yet. But maybe after 43 years of growth and maturity, maybe now we are." The hologram flickered and died, leaving Marcus alone with the impossible ship and the weight of discovery. He approached the vessel slowly, his hand extended toward its flowing surface. When his gloved fingers made contact, the symbols along the hull blazed brighter, and he felt something that no human had experienced in 10 millennia, the touch of minds that had sailed between worlds and seen the birth and death of civilizations. In that moment, Marcus Chen understood why humanity had always looked up at the stars with longing. They weren't just points of light in the darkness. They were destinations, waiting for a species brave enough and wise enough to claim them. The ship began to hum with renewed life, and Marcus smiled within his helmet. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to begin.